It's time to take 10 minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Parshat Toledot, a breath of fresh air. Parshat Toledot, Yitzchak engages in a lot of well digging. He digs wells. And particularly at one point, there are 3 wells. The first one was known as Esek. Hishami Taskuimo. Esek was like they were engaged in some sort of a battle. People were contesting the ownership of his well. Why did he dig the well? How did he dig the well? The second one was called Sitna. Sitna is an animosity. There was a sense of questioning the legal status of it. Sitna was like from the word Satan. There's adversaries and people challenging, maybe taking him to court about his second bit of well digging. The third place is called Rechovot, a name of a city in modern Israel today, and it reflects the idea of that God has spread out for us. God has given us a breath of fresh air. God has given us some space. Ufarinu ba'aretz. We're now going to flourish and be fruitful in the land. What's the significance of these 3 wells? Why do we need to know about wells that he dug? I mean, it's not the most interesting topic. So comes the Ramban and he says, well, no, this is not just a well. He's hinting to the wellspring of life itself. The idea of the Beis Elokim, of a house for God. And of course, Ramban believes that all the stories in Bereshit, in Genesis, are foreshadowings of things yet to happen in Jewish history. So the first one relates to the first Beis Hamikdash. Esek, there was a lot of challenge, machlokes, a lot of wars, until eventually the first temple was destroyed. Sitna is a word we associate with the second temple because there were people, Samaritans and others, who wrote a sitna, a challenge, a legal challenge to the Jewish people for building the Beis Hamikdash under Cyrus or Koresh, and it stopped the building of the Beis Hamikdash for a time. So the second temple is known as Sitna. There was a lot of contention about the building of the second Beis Hamikdash, second holy temple. However, third temple, which is yet to be rebuilt, that will be Rechovot. There will be nice. No challenge. Gentiles will come and they'll help us and they'll bring gold and silver and everything will be without contention at all. The Sfas Emes sees this as sort of a metaphor, not just for the future, but also nowadays, that his grandfather, Chedush Harim, said that during the week, we have Sitna. You have to work hard to achieve something spiritually. You have to fight against the enemy, namely the Satan, namely the Yetzer Hara, namely the evil inclination, against your own heart, against your own ego. It's not easy. But on Shabbos, on Shabbos, you can breathe a little bit. You don't have to fight so much, and things can come as a gift from above. Some things you achieve through work, says the Sfas Emes. Something you achieve by a gift from above. The Rechovot, the third notion, the notion of Shabbos, you get the gift from God above. You don't have to struggle for it. You set the table, you have your meal, and somehow a more spiritual day emerges. You don't have to struggle for it, but in the middle of work, in the middle of all your asek, all your strife and interactions with other people, to find that menuchas hanefesh, find that naicha, to find that pleasantness in that environment, that requires work. There is a real challenge that comes with that. Now, the question is, how do we achieve this sort of naicha, this pleasantness, this sense of, I can breathe now. How do we achieve that? So later, if we turn to something later on in the parsha, Yitzchak gave Yaakov a bracha, but he thought he was Esav. And then Esav says, don't you have any more brachas for me? So he says, well, al char b'cha tichya. One thing that you'll have is you could live on your sword. The Ramban says, how is that a bracha? To live on your sword, it sounds like you're always fighting. So he says, no, it's not a curse. It's a bracha. It's a bracha because you will live from the wars. Al charbecha, you'll live on your sword, you will live. Some people, they take out their swords, they take out their guns, they take out their AK-47, and they get shot themselves. So what's the point? They're not any safer because they had that gun. But other people are able to, al charbecha tichye, they use their sword to defend themselves, and they live, and they survive. And that's the bracha that Esau was given. But eventually, we have a similar bracha. We have a webcast about this, that in the final blessings of Moshe Rabbeinu, he says that Asher cherev gavatecha, your great pride is your sword. Really, the Jews are famous for their sword. Well, we're proud that after we use the sword, we have peace. Sometimes you have to have the first two wells. You have to have the strife before you can have peace. As Americans, we like to think that America's a peace-loving country. We just sit around, you have no wars, everything's great. You don't even have to go volunteer for the army. You don't have to volunteer for the army. You don't have to draft into the army. We're just such peace-loving people. And what people forget is that most countries are founded with a fierce sense of militarism and defense of self, defense of homeland, property. Very often it's not pretty, it's not great. Tell me one country it wasn't founded that way. And then you have the Shabbos. After you have the cherev, after you have the sword, after you have strife, after you have the challenges, the legal challenges, etc., and you assert yourself, as Yitzchak did, as the Jews will throughout history, then and only then can you have Shabbos. And you have the days. Shabbos is a hint to the days yet to come, the days we're looking forward to, when there will be no strife, won't be contention, people won't challenge, why are you doing this, why are you doing that? And we'll be able to have a breath of fresh air, we'll be able to breathe, we'll be able to expand, to have a little space. And that is something we're praying for, something we're hoping for, looking forward to. We're praying and begging God to bring us to that final stage, the stage of Rechovot, the stage where Yerchiv Hashem Lanu, that God has given us a little largesse, a little space where we can breathe, where we can put down the sword, and where we can begin to live a life where the gifts flow from heaven. You don't have to work as hard to achieve those spiritual and physical goals that we're trying to work on. And this something that is alluded to in this mysterious story of the wells of Yitzchak. Wells are not just wells. The well is that seeking of every human being for something deeper, something more meaningful, more grounded, something connected to the living God. And in this world, it often involves strife, struggle to get there. Let's hope that soon in our times, we can reach a time where it's Rechovot, Yerchiv Hashem Lanu, Ufarinu Ba'aretz, that God will make things pleasant for us, God will make things easy for us, will give us the gift of peace, the gift of being able to take a deep breath and being able to finally win that battle against all the forces of evil, but not so much through battle, but eventually as a gift from God, as a sense that we have arrived, we've achieved it. Ufarinu ba'aretz, at that point, we'll be able to fulfill all of our dreams and all of our hopes for our spiritual goals of learning Torah, expanding the horizons of Torah, deepening our appreciation of the Torah, digging deeper in the Torah than we ever did. And that's the kind of well that we're all looking forward to. Thank you for joining us here at the Baron Hirsch Congregation, and thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer, and thanks to Joe and Jennifer Roberts for being our sponsors for these weeks of webcasts. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.